Every product you touch, BlackRock owns a piece of it. Your iPhone alarm buzzes. You wake up, time to start the day. You grab your Sensodyne toothbrush, squeeze out some Colgate toothpaste, brush your teeth, and pop in your Johnson & Johnson contact lenses. Half awake, you shuffle to the kitchen, brew a cup of Starbucks coffee with Nestle milk, and take a sip. Before heading out, you check Microsoft Teams, order Kleenex toilet paper off Amazon, and throw on your Nike jacket. Finally, you grab your keys and step out, sliding into your Tesla, Ford, Chevrolet, or Toyota. You're off to work. Every single brand you just interacted with, one company is behind them all, BlackRock. And yet, you've probably never even heard of it. $11.5 trillion. That's how much BlackRock manages. That's more than the GDP of Japan and Germany combined, the third and fourth largest economies in the world. To put that into perspective, if you had $11.5 trillion at 20 years old, you could spend $315 million every single day for the next 100 years and still not run out of money. Let that sink in. But how did one company quietly gain this much control? And why does no one talk about it? Who is the mastermind behind it all? Before we get to the men who built BlackRock, we need to understand just how deep its tentacles really go. 2008. The financial crisis hits. Merrill Lynch, AIG, Citigroup, giants of finance are collapsing. The US government panics. Who do they call? BlackRock. Why? Because the man behind BlackRock helped pioneer mortgage-backed securities, the financial instruments that were misused by big corporations and led to the financial crisis. By stepping in to assist, BlackRock worked closely with the biggest financial institutions in the world, giving it deep insight into their financial health. And guess what? It already held stakes in many of them. It was tasked with managing AIG's troubled assets, while also holding AIG shares in funds for its clients. It was hired to assist with Citigroup's bailout, while also holding Citigroup shares in clients' portfolios. Then, in 2009, BlackRock acquired Barclays Global Investors, home to iShares ETFs, making it the largest asset manager on the planet. Conflict of interest? You decide. 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic slams global markets. Chaos erupts. The Federal Reserve scrambles. Who do they call? BlackRock. This time, the stakes are even bigger. The Fed hires BlackRock to execute emergency stimulus programs, managing billions in corporate bond and ETF purchases under the government guidelines. BlackRock executes bailout purchases, while holding stakes in many of the same assets through its clients' funds. Some of those purchased ETFs include BlackRock's own iShares funds, along with other market ETFs, effectively stabilizing prices while also benefiting BlackRock and its clients. And just like in 2008, BlackRock came out even bigger. By the end of 2020, its assets skyrocketed to $8.7 trillion. 2 years later, it crossed $10 trillion. Coincidence? Or is BlackRock now so powerful that even the US government is at its mercy? And it's not just the US. Europe, Latin America, Australia. BlackRock's influences is everywhere. But 2020 was a turning point. Something even bigger happened. China let BlackRock in. For the first time ever, a foreign asset manager was allowed to run a wholly owned mutual fund business in China, managing Chinese money with zero local partners. A privilege no other Western firm has ever received. Why? Why would China give BlackRock that kind of access? You be the judge. BlackRock knows that if it talks about fighting climate change, social justice, and corporate responsibility, everyday people will be on its side. So what does it do? It pushes ESG, environmental, social, and governance standards, leveraging its massive influence to pressure companies into compliance. ESG is a scoring system that ranks companies based on how ethical they appear. And here's the twist. Companies with higher ESG scores attract more investments. Now, every major corporation scrambles to meet BlackRock's standards, even if it means faking it. Tesla was removed from the S&P 500 ESG index in 2022. Yes, the company making electric cars. Meanwhile, oil giants stayed on the list. Explain that. See the problem? It's not about saving the planet, it's about control. And if the company refuses to comply, BlackRock uses its voting power to push them in line. In 2021, BlackRock backed a campaign by activist hedge fund Engine No. 1 to replace ExxonMobil's board members, pushing the oil giant towards a climate-conscious agenda. Is BlackRock promoting clean energy, or is it promoting its own influence? But here is where things get even more questionable. BlackRock preaches sustainability, yet holds billions in oil and gas stocks. It pressures gun manufacturers while being a top investor in weapons companies. It pushes corporate ethics while investing in Chinese surveillance firms like Hikvision, which has been sanctioned by the US government for allegedly enabling mass surveillance and oppression of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. So, is this about making the world better, or avoiding scrutiny while pulling the strings behind the scenes? One thing is clear, behind it all is one man, Larry Fink. At 23, Larry Fink began his career on Wall Street as a bond trader. At 31, he became the youngest managing director in First Boston's history, pioneering mortgage-backed securities, the financial instruments that would later contribute to the 2008 financial crisis. Under his leadership, his division helped First Boston add billions in assets. He was a rising star and investment mastermind. Then, one misstep changed everything. In 1986, Fink's team miscalculated interest rate, resulting in a $100 million loss for First Boston. Overnight, he transitioned from Wall Street genius to a liability. Reputation tarnished, career in jeopardy. Facing growing pressure, he left the firm. But rather than vanishing, he channeled his setback into motivation. In 1988, he co-founded a risk management firm under Blackstone's umbrella, initially named Blackstone Financial Management. By 1994, due to disagreement over the firm's direction, particularly concerning compensation methods and equity distribution, BlackRock separated from Blackstone, becoming an independent financial powerhouse. Today, BlackRock's influence extends beyond its $11.5 trillion in assets under management. This is because BlackRock doesn't just manage assets, it offers its pivotal tool, Aladdin, a risk management platform so integral that banks, hedge funds, pension funds, and even governments depend on it for data analysis and capital allocation. Through Aladdin, BlackRock services an additional $21.6 trillion in assets beyond the $11.5 trillion it directly oversees. Total financial footprint, $31.1 trillion. A platform so deeply embedded in global finance that a failure or disruption could send shockwaves through financial markets. So, who really controls the world? BlackRock and Larry Fink, or the politicians? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And ask yourself, when it comes to money, who is really looking out for you? BlackRock, the government, your employer, or will they take care of themselves first when things go south? If your company needs to cut costs, would they protect your job, or would you be the first to go? If you want full control of your financial future, you might want to listen to what Warren Buffett himself says about ETFs and smart investing. Then make your own decisions. Watch this next.